To security matters now, the senator representing Borno South Senatorial District, Ali Ndume, has decried the rising spate of insecurity in the state. In a statement, Ndume expressed grave concern over the renewed Boko Haram attack, particularly in the southern senatorial district. He highlighted the continuous attacks on communities in Gwoza, Askira Uba, Chibok, Damboa, Biu, and Awal, where properties have been looted and destroyed without any confrontation from security forces. He further lamented that the ongoing violence has made even the Maiduguri, Damaturu, Buni, Yadibiu road unsafe, forcing residents to take a detour through Gombe State, extending their journey from 2 hours to over 12 hours. Borno State has been battling insurgency for over a decade, with Boko Haram terrorists continuing to pose a significant threat to both the military and civilians in the region. As reactions to the Senate saga mount, the intellectual progressive movement has condemned in strong terms the conduct of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, saying the petition for a recall sent to the Independent National Electoral Commission is within the rights of the petitioners. In an interview with TV360 Nigeria, the convener of the group, Mahmoud Abubakar, says the embattled senator acted in violation of Senate standing rules, a move which warrants a suspension. He also decried the petition for a recall from the Senate as necessary and justified.
To me, the suspension is in line with the Code of Conduct of the National Assembly. You know, a lot of people are just saying it from the perspective that because Senator Natasha accused the Senate President of sexual harassment, that was the reason why she was suspended or other things. But I didn't see it from that view. Senator Natasha is not the first person to be suspended in the Senate on the same violation of the standing rule of the Senate of the National Assembly. So we have had a case of being suspended. We have had a case of Senator Ningi being suspended, Ovioma Agege standing rule. Natasha sworn by that handbook. She know the rules in the Code of Conduct of the National Assembly. So if she violates the standing rule and she was asked to appear before even the suspension has been announced. So I don't think the Senate whether the Senate acts hastily or not. That is my own view. They act according to the Code of Conduct and according to the standing rule of the National Assembly.
The Nigerian Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges has officially closed the sexual harassment petition filed by Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. The embattled senator, who was suspended for 6 months over alleged misconduct, had accused Akpabio of sexual harassment and indecent conduct. During the hearing, counsel to Senator Natasha demanded that the committee chairman, Senator Meda Ndasoa, recuse himself, citing an earlier statement where he described the case as dead on arrival. However, Senator Imasuen defended his position, clarifying that an earlier petition submitted by Senator Natasha was invalid as it lacked an address and was personally signed by her, which is against the Nigerian Senate rules. The committee also cited Order 47, which bars the Senate from deliberating on any matter already before the court of law.
Until when we read that the rule of this House and that Constitution, that's when we can say that we have fair hearing and justice in this regard. In this regard, what the petitioner had said is that based on that press briefing, whether it was before Natasha was sent out of the National Assembly or not, gives an impression that the chairman of the committee has a particular understanding of this issue and could be said to be biased, on that issue, with due respect, sir. And that is what my client is raising. Now, my client had raised one more point, that in the petition that he had put before you, sir, that the petition had said is going to bring the principal witness, Senator Natasha, as one of the witnesses to speak on this issue. And we are aware that the Senate had made a decision on where she can come and where she cannot come. And so that is why we are saying we are ready to proceed. An oath has been taken. We have our witnesses ready. And the principal witness is Senator Natasha. So we don't also want people to go ahead and think that we deliberately came here, we have been called on CD.
From the position that I can see you are taking, it means the whole Senate is biased. Because the whole Senate witnessed what happened on the floor. They witnessed it. And so, I don't know what other committee you're going to now constitute that is not aware of what has been going on. 2, learned respondent has just told us, and I'm sure you have the case file and index number in front of you, that this matter is before a law court. And I will address that. And we'll address that by our rule book, which says Order 47. And I will read on record. Senate should not receive or deliberate on any matter to which actions are pending in any court of law, based on 2 things. 1, the petitioner said he would not speak to his petition because the Senate is biased, or I'm biased, or the committee is biased. 2, the respondent has just told us, and the papers are before you, that this case is before a competent court of law. Therefore, this committee will allow a court of law that will not be biased to handle this matter. Therefore, this matter is closed here at the Senate and is adjourned.
The former Minister of Education and Bring Back Our Girls activist, Oby Ezekwesili, has criticized the Nigerian Senate for what she described as gross degradation of the Constitution in handling the sexual harassment petition filed by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan against Senate President Godswill Akpabio. The heated session led to an outburst between Ezekwesili and the Deputy Whip of the Senate, Senator Onyechachi Nweboyin, as he strongly condemned the Senate's decisions to rely on its standing orders rather than the Constitution of Nigeria. Speaking to journalists after the session, Ezekwesili argued that the Senate handling of both Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan's suspension demonstrated a pattern of suppressing constitutional rights under the guise of Senate rules.
Describe it as a gross degradation of the Constitution and the laws of the land, because the persistence with which the Nigerian Senate now tells us that citizens are entirely subject to Senate rules in a country that is a democracy must worry every Nigerian. There is absolutely no basis for the rules of the Senate to have supremacy over the Constitution and the laws of the land. In the suspension of Senator Natasha, that was what happened. They put the rules of the Senate over and above the laws and the Constitution of Nigeria. Today, with this petitioner, they exactly did the same thing. They were determined to use the camouflage of the rules of the Senate to make it impossible for a petitioner that says this Senate committee will not give me fair hearing.
To other stories now, the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja on Tuesday set aside actions previously delivered against the reinstatement of Mohammed Sanusi II as the 16th Emir of Kano. Subsequently, the appellate court, upon acknowledging the transmission of the case record to the Supreme Court, directed all interested parties to exercise caution pending the hearing of their appeals at the Apex Court. In a unanimous ruling delivered by a 3-member panel of justices, presided over by Justice Biobele Abraham Georgewill, the court accepted the withdrawal of the application filed by the Kano State government following the transmission of the record of appeal to the Supreme Court. By implication, the transmission of the appeal record to the Supreme Court, in line with established legal precedent, operates as a stay of any further actions on the Court of Appeal's ruling of March 14, 2025. So the Green Chambers now 39 constitutional amendment bills cutting across sectors, including judicial reforms, electoral matters, security and policing, inclusive governance and legislatures, have scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. Among the proposed amendments seeks to make the Court of Appeal the final arbiter on governorship election petitions in Nigeria. Now, if passed, the bill will remove the Supreme Court from the appeal processes in governorship dispute. The bill, sponsored by lawmaker of Delta State Nnamdi Ezechi, seeks to alter Section 246 of the 1999 Constitution. Ezechi introduced the bill in 2024, explaining that it is designed to reduce delays and costs in post-election litigations. House Leader Julius Iyonbere led the motion for the second reading of the bills. The lawmakers suspended their rules to pass it without debate.
A bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to make recommendation of the National Judicial Council mandatory for the removal of from office of heads of Nigerian courts and for related matters. Second reading. A bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Cap C-23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2024 to provide for the establishment of the Ecclesiastical Court of Appeal of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and the Ecclesiastical Court of Appeal of the States and for related matters. Second reading. A bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to make the Court of Appeal the final appeal court in governorship, national and state houses of assembly election petitions and for related matters.
Those in support of this motion that will be read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The bills are referred to Committee on Constitutional Review.
And as one of Africa's fastest growing cities, Lagos State continues to experience rapid urban expansion, necessitating efficient planning, infrastructure development, and staff support systems. To address these needs, the Lagos State Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, in collaboration with the State Building Control Agency, has taken a high-level assessment tour across key government agencies in line with urban renewal initiatives aimed at improving both public service delivery and the quality of life for residents. Correspondent Faith Joseph has details in this next report.
The assessment tour provides opportunity for government officials to inspect ongoing projects, address operational challenges, and explore ways to enhance efficiency in land management, urban renewal, and regulatory enforcement. The initiative is also aimed at enhancing transparency, reducing bureaucratic bottlenecks, and preventing land disputes.
A lot of agencies are now also being connected to this. You know, we're also having some work to do in the in LASEC, that's the Lagos State Electoral Service Commission, and we're building a simulation room. Do you understand? No, sorry, we're building a situation room, you know, so that we can monitor elections from there, you know, and we have also provided tablets, you know, to them that they can use for ground truthing to take election results and send back to a platform for collation. The governor has decided to approve this project so that it can be a place where a safe place, a secured place that the files can be kept in. We have over 750,000 files in Lands Bureau in Lagos State, and of course every day more files are being generated. So it's now very important to have a place, a secured environment to store away all the files.
The government also reaffirmed its commitment to enhancing staff welfare and creating a conducive work environment for government personnel.
So we want to bring in structures, beautiful structures that will be quarters for our staff, our enforcement staff, because our enforcement department, we call upon them at any time to go for enforcement service, enforcement exercise.
About 95 or 96% of our business processes are conducted in the digital domain. So, of course, you know, if we move from analog to digital, with that come a whole lot of digital infrastructure. And so the upgrade of this office is in tune, as I said, with industry best practice to position the Office of the State Surveyor General to be able to respond to the demand of the digital age.
Where we were before, we didn't really have much office space to work with. But here we have enough of office space for each directors, for the enforcement, for the building department, building certification department. We have for all the departments, we all have offices here to work with. And this has given us much more effort to work in the office.
In addition, the government has established a centralized digital repository for lands and document property records. With this initiative, Lagos continues to position itself as a model for sustainable urban development in Nigeria, ensuring both government workers and residents benefit from a more organized, efficient and livable city. Faith Joseph, TV360, Lagos.
Now, in a significant move to bolster national security and combat economic sabotage, the Nigeria Customs Service Kebbi State Command has made its largest ever seizure in history, intercepting 125,000 motors, better known as petrol, worth 125 million naira. The PMS smuggled in trucks, drums and kegs was confiscated in Simiamia town and other locations across the state. The Customs Command has announced that the seized commodity will be auctioned at a later date at 10,000 naira per 25 litres. This next report has details.
This recent seizure is part of efforts to curb the illegal smuggling of petroleum products and reduce the menace of fuel scarcity resulting from economic sabotage through PMS smuggling in the country. At the command's headquarters in Bini Kebbi, the Controller of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi, by Controller General, credited the operation to synergy. Operation Whirlwind, the office security advisor and the mainstream and downstream regulatory authority.
Our most recent intervention highlights the unwavering and tireless commitment of officers and men of Operation Whirlwind, the Command Kebbi, FOU Zone B officers, the strength and collaboration of our body, the preservation of our national economy.
The Controller of Customs for Kebbi State, Chidi Nwokori, urged collaboration among agents border and preventing economic sabotage.
For the legitimate traders, the ACG representing the CGC has come to reassure you of our support in the facilitation of your trade and businesses. What is on display today are seizures. He has come to redouble our way. Smuggling.
The General Manager of Operation Whirlwind in Kebbi State, advised individuals interested in petroleum business to follow legitimate procedures.
I want to state unequivocally that now that we have seen and arrested this and sundry, from here up to Bagudo, Maje, Bakirua, Samia, Lolo, Ilo, down to Dolekaina, crossing to Tunga Tutu, crossing to Zaria Kalakala, crossing to Tunga Waterside, leaving all those areas, going towards Samonaji around the Yauri area. I want to tell you that we are going to effectively and conveniently police those areas.
With enhanced collaboration between security agencies, regulatory bodies, and legitimate stakeholders. The NCS says it remains committed to securing Nigerians' borders, dismantling smuggling syndicates, and protecting critical national assets. Authorities urge compliance with legal trade regulation to safeguard the country's economic and security interests.
Now, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, watch us on Limex World TV and AVO TV or log on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Wabi App Gallery, and Apple Store. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. And in the world of business, depositors of Merit exceeding 5 million have appealed to the National Assembly to intervene and assist in the resolution of the bank's license by the CBN. The depositors claim that the revocation had left them in financial distress, with their livelihoods and businesses hanging in the balance. In a statement, the depositors expressed frustration that despite previous assurances from the CBN that the bank was not in distress, they have been unable to access their funds. The situation, according to them, has led to widespread economic hardship, with businesses shutting down, life savings crumbling, and daily expenses coming to a standstill. And on the foreign scene, a helicopter fighting deadly wildfires in South Korea crashed on Wednesday, killing the pilot, according to the fire department, as officials raced to bring the massive blaze under. There was a suspension of all helicopter operators at wildfire sites nationwide, citing safety concerns as it investigates the cause of the crash and confirmed the victims. People have been killed in one of South Korea's worst wildfire outbreaks, with multiple raging blazes causing unprecedented damage across the country. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has flagged off the Touch of Unity movement for the 22nd National Sport Festival and reaffirmed his administration's commitment to providing an enabling environment for sport development in the country. The Sport Festival tagged between May 16 and 20, 2025 in Ogun State. Speaking in Abuja on Tuesday, Tinubu described unity as a symbol of peace, strength, and solidarity. The Touch will herald the festival by traveling through all capital territory.
This game also creates a platform for all states and FCT to showcase their sporting prowess under the healthy competition in an atmosphere of sportsmanship and friendly interaction to enhance and strengthen national unity. Thus, the Games represents much more than just a competition for athletic skills. They embody the unity, strength, and resilience that defines us as a nation. Every step we take together towards the festival is not merely an act of preparation for a reporting event, but a reaffirmation of our collective commitment to nation building through sports. As we eagerly anticipate the commencement of the festival in Abeokuta, Ogun State on May 16, 2025, I am honored to flag off the moment of the Touch collective effort will continue to inspire us as we all pray for the successful journey of the torch across the 36 Nigeria.
Mandela once said, sports has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire, to unite people in a way that little else does. This torch, as it journeys across the Federation, is not merely a symbol of the forthcoming games. It is a reflection of our shared aspirations, collective identity.
Games under the sponsorship of the Commission. These junior athletes will compete at the Games under the name Invited Junior Athletes, IJA, which will be captured as a 38 states of the Federation, so we can give our youth a pathway to greatness.
And that's our news bulletin on News Now at this time. Many thanks for joining us.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
Because when you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of
da kamar ina tare da waya ta ma za ku ta hamada saboda ni na dauka waya
kamar yanzu kamar anan yana cikin bidiyo na gargajiya ko ka tona hamada ko
gurin kiwon ma babu gonakan kan babu ma maganar gonakai duk inda muke da gonakai gurin sahara ya ce gurin kiwo sahara ya ce kuma taku da kanka ma kana tafiya wallahi kana sai ka yi ni kana tafiya wani gangare ka shiga ko ka dan ka sai ya fi da ba kana tona ma ba za ka kama shi karuwa yake ma karuwa ba an ce akwai ma'aikatan ma
Farmers and herders in Nigeria used to enjoy relative peace as they interacted with each other. That is no longer the case. It is estimated that between 2016 and 2018, over 3,600 lives were lost to the crisis between the two groups. In the first half of 2018, about 300,000 people became displaced for the same reason. Northwestern and North Central Nigeria have notably been the heart of this violence. But the crisis is spreading fast to other parts of the country, including the South. Several factors have been identified for the wave of bloodshed: rapidly increasing population figures, rapidly dwindling resources, which both groups rely on. Also, the pattern of migration of the traditionally nomadic Fulani cattle rearers has been changing. This is due to rising insecurity, improvements in veterinary medicine, hostility from locals and state governments, and a bunch of environmental factors including climate change, desertification, loss of vegetation, and water scarcity. In Yobe, northeast Nigeria, the relationship between the scarcity of natural resources and increased violence is obvious. From the encroachment of the Sahara Desert to the shrinking of the Hadija Nguru wetlands.
ina magana akan yanayin mutuwar dabbobinmu lokacin yunwa. Misali, idan rani ya ja lokaci kafin faduwar damuna, duk da faduwar damuna, ciyawa ta kan yanke.
Wato matsalar da muke samu na takwarawa hamada. Mu dai faru lokacin gama in particular daga Fulani gabar da nan kenan da muke zo ne har zuwa Gumsi sai su faru lokacin gama. Kuma jajin bayan da dai abubuwan da kuke gani a nan yanzu a ƙasa ta kusa kan cari hamada ta riga ta cika cikin lokacin gama. Ta yi nisa, ta ci sosai. Ba mu san dai kuma abin da zai biyo baya ba, amma ɓangaren gwamnati the challenge of climate change and the consequences of climate change on the environment, especially when you look closely at environmental degradation and the competition for resources, in this instance specifically for land and water, has in several instances generated conflict. There is virtually no part of the northwest, not to an extent north central, and then northeast that you go to that you don't see receding water bodies, and how this is having a huge impact on the socio-economic well-being of and livelihoods of the people in those communities. And so the likelihood of migration from the core northern states into some parts of southern Nigeria is something that is real.
Zakari, a village in Yusufari, northern Yobe State, lies on the fringes of the Sahara Desert. About 50 years ago, it was like any other arid northeast Nigerian community, with decent vegetation, a smooth road network, sun-baked mud buildings, and a great many people who had lived there for generations. Now it is just miles and miles of sand dunes. Desert encroachment has pushed out the majority of the residents, many of them herders. Malam Musa is one of many herders in Gaidam who have now resettled in the Song area of Adamawa.
Sani wanda ya yi sanadiyan barin su yankin nan?
Akwai.
Na zai kai kaman gidaje na ko rugaje na ko mutane nawa za ka gaba kayyana?
Kai kamar 100.
Wato wanda suka bar nan wajen.
Kaɗan ɗin.
A sanadiyan wannan. To ya kuke fama da baki?
Around January, February, you hardly see anything in the place that an animal will browse or take as a food. And there's no water even to drink. So this is one of the factors that will make them to come southwards. If they move southwards for water and for grazing the dry grasses, definitely the desert encroachment is one of the factors that is concentrating the animal into a place and making the clashes between farmers and herders more frequent, more often. Had it been that in the area that is encroached by desert, there is grasses and water for them to, they may not be there. They don't have to move. They don't have to move. But now it's necessary that they must come southward as the dry season is approaching. They must come southward in search of little pasture and drinking water. While if during the rainy season approach, they go north, since there may be water and little grasses for them to graze.
The problem with desert encroachment is not going to stop anytime soon. According to one estimate, the sand dunes shift towards the south at a rate of 30 hectares each year, putting 11 states in northern Nigeria at risk of desertification. More cattle rearers in these places are moving elsewhere due to the combination of factors: insecurity, drought, desertification, and the need for water.
Ruwan baɗi irin na ba saboda ruwan kowa ya ji fadama bai sha ruwa ba gashi kuma ga gurare gonaki ko ina fili ya ƙare ba gurin ki yau to shi ne makayayan da suka zo ga lamirin mu anan mun yi da mu da su akan mu kore su muka yi mu kore su abun ya gagare mu muka gaya wa lawanin mu shi ma ya yi dan abun da bakin kokarin sa abun ya gagari mun gaya wa hakimi ma duk kowa ya san da baki kuma bakin nan ba daga wani guri suke ba daga jigar.
The migration of herders to new places tends to lead to clashes or aggravate existing conflicts because of competition over insufficient land and water resources.
Ina tafiya suna tare ni da kibiya suna jifa na ni ina so in tafi gurin yaran can su kuma suna gefen nan gefen kudu haka su yaran suna gabar ni ina tafiya gun su gabar su kuma suna gefe na
yaran da suke aikin
shinkafa
kai kana so ka iso wajen su
su kuma wannan
kuma sai suka zargu
a cikin gona
sai suka zargu suka fara harbi
sai suka kama harbi suna harbi na suna jifa ni ban sani ba ma ni da na gani haka dai ina gani suna yin haka dai da abin su suna jifa amma kibiyan bai zo ya same ni ba ban gani ba ma ashe wai su harbi suke sai na fasa tafiya gun yaran sai na tafi gun yaran fulani din to ina tafiya ɗayan yana yin harbinsa ashe kibiyarsa ya ƙare da ya gani na kusa zuwa gunsa sai dan uwansa sai ya jefa masa addansa shi wani yana da kibiya shi zai gudu kenan sai ya jefa wannan da ba zai gudu ba sai ya jefa masa adda kawai yaron nan kawai sai ya taho da gudu sai ya fita da gudu ya zo ya same ni ya doka mu adda? Da itace a hannuna na ɗauka na masu buge shinkafa ya yanke itacen kuma ya yanke hannu hannun yanzu haka babu yanzu fakin ne aka ce za a yi ba zai zama hannu ba
shi ne wannan kibiya ɗan kibiyan kenan?
shi lokacin da ya tsare da adda na faɗi
kamar shekara 5 a bangaren noma din gaskiya ba mu da matsala da su amma daga shekara 2 zuwa 3 ɗin abubuwan suka ƙara lalacewa
kuma karanci ruwa shi ya kawo inda ruwan ya zo an zuba da shinkafa wani guri ya hau wani guri bai hau ba to dalilin wannan su ne dama wanda fulani suka samu
rashin ruwan shi ya kawo su suka shiga ka zauna kuma abinda saura shinkawan masu ma rashin kiyawa da mai suka shiga shinkawa mutane suna ci an hana su abin muhimmi da ya fi karfi mu gaskiya mu na maguru.
In Nguru, about 100 kilometers west of Yusufari, is a section of the Hadija Nguru wetlands. For many years, the waterlogged fields and rivers in the area have sustained the livelihoods of millions of farmers, herders, and fishermen. But the water is starting to recede. Harvests, especially for rice farmers, have dropped significantly in the past year. They are also facing more problems from herders, whose cattle graze on the farms closer to town before harvest is done.
To gaskiya wannan dai inda dai da ruwan dai hakan duk ba za ta faru da yawa ba. Da rashin ruwan ma kuma da ta'adin da fulani ne duk dai ba wanda za a ce ba.
Kowa ya taka rawa ciki.
Gaskiya ne.
Yanzu a ganin ka me kake gani ya kamata a yi wanda zai iya magance wannan abun ita buɗewar ne ko kuma
an da an buɗe ruwa din za a iya samun saukin kan abin hanyar ruwa idan ta riga ta gyaru zaman lafiya tsakanin tunda daɗin ruwa yana zama ba wani matsala tsakanin su da can asali din da ruwa yana zaune muna zaune da ruwa daga baya kuma ruwan ya yi karanci zuwa yanzu shekara kamar 12 da akwai ruwa baya amma zuwa
sosai ba sa ɗaukan su kamar ni muhimmanci
gona biyu haka aka ce gona biyu aka ce kowanne a baya ina samun 30 gona biyu ina samun 60 babu ɗaya kwano ɗaya ban samu kuma na yi yunkuri na ji na gaya ciyama
To our own understanding, the major problems is the absence of coming of the water. That are the reason why we fail to get what we have.
Lack of water.
They are all affected in the land. We have the only source of water. If that source bring us water, the whole area farming well and organized. And then if there is no water from that only center we have it, we all lost. And what we understand now, the farmers at Onguru, they have already failed. 70% of our farmers have nothing to farm.
90%.
Have 20% get only rice that have been eaten in their house. And then 10% are those that are gain something from the farming. And even me, I've tried to farm more than 1,000 to 2,000 rice. And my chairman more than 20,000. And the secretary will do more than 25,000 because of he's richer than us. But now, even I don't have even 10 bucks. I'm farming more than 1,000 and I don't have even 10 bucks.
Ok, kana da ka ɗauka
babu sun cinye ne yayi mu ruwa bai shiga ba.
Some footprints of the cows or plants that they've eaten.
Akwai da zamu iya ganin zamu iya ɗaukan hoton
da can mutu a
cikin su.
To a tsarin mu na uku kare na ba sai ya jawo a gaba da wannan.
The major problem is lack of water. And then the second problem is the coming of the Fulani from somewhere else. And then that Fulani comes because of the absence of water.
Three factors have been identified for the water problem: the proliferation of the invasive taifa grass, the construction of dams along water roads supplying the wetlands, such as the Tiga Dam in Kano, and droughts. One other reason for the increased clashes between farmers and herders in Nigeria is the encroachment of grazing roads, reserved for use by pastoralists, by northern lawmakers during the First Republic. These grazing roads and reserves are now being converted into farmlands and other structures. This makes it difficult for herders to move about freely without trespassing, and has repeatedly been used as an excuse.
Burtali nan da abin da ya kama daga nan har zuwa Sudan akwai burtali, amma su manoma duk sun je sun kakkare sun yi shuki da sauransu. Shi yasa su Fulani kai musu magana da wannan suke laɓewa. An kashe burtali da sauransu. Kuma hakikanin gaskiya yawancin tashin hankali da muke samu a nan akan harkar manoma da makiyaya yawanci duka ba makiyaya namu na nan bane, daga wani guri ne suke zuwa. Suka zo kuma ba sa tsoron ɓannatar da kayan mutane, kuma ba sa tsoron faɗa.
Even though the Nigerian government has kick-started attempts to revisit the grazing roads, experts say this is not the long-lasting solution that is needed.
The era of open grazing, in my honest opinion, is over. Yes, as a temporary measure and to allow for a de-escalation of the current situation that we're in, there may be a need to allow some form of movement, but that movement should be generated towards encouraging ranching and encouraging some more other sophisticated type of livestock rearing.
Unless when this is modernized, this problem of movement from one place to the other, or maybe to get sufficient either meat or milk and cater for the country is being modernized, I don't think we can achieve this our target. One of the problems, as I told you earlier, is that those people that are handling the animals refuse to go to school. They must be educated before they have that thinking that you are saying. Those people that are illiterate, they are all what they knew nothing about apart from the cattle. If you want them to improve what they are doing, how are you going to incorporate that knowledge into their own thinking? It's very difficult. And another problem to my own seeing is that government also is not paying much attention to the cattle rearers. You can hear programs, fertilizer, and what again?
Seed.
Most of the government programs are targeted towards crop cultivation. You can hardly come across any program that is targeted towards the cattle rearers. You can even hear about the states that are banning open grazing.
mu masu karamin karfi ne abinda muke da shi ga daren mun tattara mun je mun zubar a jeji domin wannan in ya fito a shi da mu samu abin da mu ci mu taimaka yan uwa mu marayu ne to amma babu an riga an cinye yanzu haka nan haka sidda yanzu haka nan da rigar da ya samu a cikin kwari.
Right in the middle of this forest in southwest Ogun State, and inside the buildings below, a young generation of farmers in Nigeria is changing the face of farming and attracting young people to a venture many of them had not always liked. And 36-year-old Peter Okocha Jr., or PJ as he's fondly called, is leading the change. An economist by training before branching off into farming, PJ and his team are deploying a unique method of farming known as aeroponics to grow cash crops, starting out here in August of 2017.
What's taking place is that you're seeing agricultural technology. It's a disruptive form of technology. It's called aeroponics, whereby the plants are grown in a soilless medium. Essentially, there's no soil, and the roots of the plants, which are underneath these boxes, are being misted with nutrients and so forth. So everything is within a controlled environment, and it's fully automated as well.
Their focal crop is yam, a very popular edible starchy tuber mainly cultivated in Africa and exported across the world.
So the yam subsector of the overall agricultural sector, it's a very lucrative sector. But the problem is that the requisite inputs haven't been applied. And so what we're doing in this program is saying that, okay, we know that there's a sector that currently has a value, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization based in Rome, of about $13 billion US. But with the requisite inputs, the yam subsector will grow from $13 billion to about $19 billion. And this is Nigeria alone. So what we've said is that, okay, we know also that Nigeria accounts for 60% of the global production of yam, but yet we don't have inputs such as seed. And as you know, seeds, or the lab and the seed essentially is the genesis of the agricultural sector. So what we're doing is that in conjunction with IITA, we get clean seeds, essentially from IITA, from the lab, and then we come and we transplant to the system here.
The system is a greenhouse where the yam seeds are grown in this row of boxes using aeroponics, more like growing yams in the air. Now just take a look at these leaves. Every leaf you see here is a potential tuber of yam. So to get a sense of how many tubers of yam we have here, you just have to do a count of all the leaves we have here. It's something very massive.
We have about 10 boxes, and in those boxes, all fully automated aeroponic systems, and it leads to high propagation of plants. And so we're actually massively propagating, and it will continue like this for a 3-year period of just continuous growth, non-stop. After the propagation, what you'll see is that it will essentially form a canopy. It will be very bush-like and so forth. And from there, we'll start vine cutting. And from the vine cutting, we'll cut these. We'll put them into essentially polyethylene bags and with a nutrient solution, and they'll stay in there for about a month. And essentially, what it is that because this is in a controlled environment, we're taking them out and saying, okay, we're preparing you for a month to get used to the external elements. And they'll be there for a month, and then we eventually take them to the field.
This is the field where they are brought and planted into the soil so the seeds could develop fully.
These right now currently have been here for about 3 weeks, and we're still planting now, and they'll be here for a total of about 3 months. And after about 3 months, we'll get seeds of about 250 to about 500 grams. And those are the seeds that we'll provide to farmers. And farmers can then go and plant directly, and to give them the ware yam sizes of 1 kg, 2 kg and above.
One of the smallholder farmers who's been using the yam seeds from the aeroponics farm is Awofe Ademola. He's been into traditional yam farming all his adult life and says the yam seeds from the aeroponics farm have seen his output more than double and safe from pests.
There's a lot of difference between the two methods because the new method doesn't get infected by pests and it doesn't change color like the traditional planted yams. It will remain fresh as it is wherever it is kept. Their yam when harvested is almost 3 times or 4 times more than ours. When we plant one of our own seed yam, it equates to 4 of theirs.
Habibat Umar is the only female in the group. She's one of those overseeing the day-to-day running of the smart farm. She says she's fascinated by the whole idea of it.
One of the things that fascinates me most is the fact that we can go all year round producing food, more like you can cheat God's creation and having to depend on the rain and all. And everybody wants to eat all the time. You don't want to wait for when the rain is here. And so the fact that we can provide the food all year round, it's everything to me.
Even though all may seem fine, PJ and his team are battling familiar challenges to keep their operations running.
More attention needs to be given to the sector. There needs to be more financing put in place. We need to have adequate land laws in place and to ensure that we can optimize all the arable land that we have and so forth. There needs to be insurance. We need to have better road networks. Power is a major impediment as well. Essentially we have our own solar system, as well as the fact that we also have a generator as well for backup. So power cost is also a major impediment as well. So all of these things, if we can put all these things in place, then the sector will boom for sure.
PJ and his team are setting themselves up as role models for young people. In a country where youth unemployment is high, they are hoping to inspire many within their age bracket to take to their kind of farming technique.
We need women to even join this chain, because this is not all about... we've gone past the stage of waiting for men doing it. So why wouldn't I want to be part of it? Like, let people say, oh, she's a woman, she's doing it. Do you understand? So women have to join this chain.
My message for the youth is saying that, listen, with the use of technology and disruptive methods such as this, essentially you can run your farm on your laptop, on your computer and so forth and everything. It's all automated. So essentially this makes agriculture cool. It makes agriculture sexy. You have the technological components to it and so forth and everything. So it's not just the conventional, back-breaking work in the field and so forth and everything like that. There are also these components as well that will make it appealing to the youth. So I say, listen, join me. We have a nation to feed and we have a nation to grow as well.
Hello, welcome once again to your favorite program, our favorite program, The Conversation, coming to you from TV360 here in Lagos, Nigeria. My name is Nelson Ekujimi, and I have here with me in the studio today Richard Adeyinka Emmanuel, the CEO, Data Home Research and Communications Limited. Richard, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, like we all know, The Conversation is a topical issues program that looks at happenings within Nigeria and outside our shores. On top of the bill today, we want to look at the raging controversy surrounding Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan versus Senate President Godswill Akpabio. You recollect that some weeks ago, Senator Natasha Akpoti caused an uproar in the Alo chambers of the Senate when she attempted to make an observation. And the Senate President told her that she was not properly seated, that according to the rules of the House, she cannot make any observation or make any contribution if she's not rightfully seated where she is supposed to be. Like we all know, we had two defections in the House. And because of that defection, the seats were rearranged. And under the rules of the House, it's the prerogative of the Senate President to reallocate or rearrange the seats of the House whenever he deems fit. And this time around, Senator Natasha was told that her seat has been moved from where it formerly was. But she refused. She said she would rather speak from where she is seated. And they said it's against the rules. Even the chief whip of the House brought it to her notice. She refused, and it became a shouting match. And if you ask me, she desecrated the image of the Senate. And to cap it all, some days later, Senator Natasha now made this allegation that the Senate president has been sexually harassing her, or that he made sexual advances at her, and because she turned it down,
that is what led to
yes
change of seat.
And we all know that what was at play at the Senate on that day was not about the personal relationship between the Senate president and Senator Natasha. It was about complying with the rules of the House. And several senators have come out, even including former senators have even granted interviews to tell us that, look, in fact, Senator Eriti Kingibe, representing FCT, even came out and said of all the women in the House, that Senator Natasha is the most privileged.
Yes. And then that our own seat has been moved 4 times.
4 times.
Different times. Senator Itagiwa also,
the former
in fact, said our own residence at the Akpo Villa, was moved to the back near the bush because she didn't support the Senate president of that time.
During her tenure.
And then she just ignored and just went to Asokoro and rented her own apartment. But by and large, there is an update. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has submitted official petition
to the ethics committee,
to the Senate now, and the Senate president has acknowledged, and that, of course, the right thing is for onward transfer to the
appropriate
committee to handle the situation. So it's getting set. That is what she has
should have done before now.
Yes, that yes, if you want the Senate to look into it, present official petition and attach your evidence and all that, so that they can look into it and let go. And some other lawyers have even said she has other options. She can go to report the case to the police.
She has even instituted a case of 100 billion for a statement made by an aide.
Yes, so that's on defamation.
Yes.
So not really on the act itself. So, but right here, let us make it clear: nobody supports sexual harassment against any woman.
We condemn it.
Condemnable.
Yes, in its totality.
So the issue should be investigated.
Yes.
If the Senate president is found guilty, of course there must be evidence that will show that truly the sexual harassment happened. And if the Senate president is found guilty, I know some people are saying Senate cannot give her justice.
And again, Richard, you know, the most interesting thing for me is that a lot of persons now, I wrote that on my Facebook page, that persons who had a sordid, stay in public office, immediately they step down from public office. They want to become a moral compass.
Yes.
Sermonizing the... Can you imagine former Senate President Bukola Saraki asking the Senate President to step aside? This was Bukola Saraki, a Senate President who was alleged to have been a sponsor of the Offa robbery. He didn't step down. He went to the Code of Conduct Tribunal,
where many people were killed.
Yes, he didn't step down.
It was just plain politics. It was just plain politics.
Do they think we have selective amnesia?
But issues like that should not be toyed with. Should not be politicized.
Yes, I agree with you.
Whoever is found, the two parties should submit to the law. Whoever is guilty should face the law. However, we should make it clear that this issue, taking the attention of the whole nation away from important issue, for me,
it's as important as any other issue.
Yes.
Because it's about a life.
It's about life, it's about dignity of a woman and all that. Yeah. So, accept wholeheartedly. I'm just curious that when the issue happened, it happened in 2023, and in faraway Akwa Ibom, during the is it housewarming of Senate President mansion,
and she came with her
husband,
and several other senators were also
there. And even
even
the deputy whip said she rode in the same car with her and her husband and all that. So let us assume it happened
in that mansion. Why didn't she? It can be raised at any time. However,
Yes.
I'm just curious that why did it take her this long to raise the issue? Because one of the ways to stop sexual harassment is to confront the person involved right
the
there,
perpetrator.
the perpetrator right there. The moment it happened, don't show weakness, just face it right there. And you have support. You had your husband beside you to fight with you.
And there were other people, of which we know women will also be there.
Yes, women will also be. So they will fight with you right there. You are not alone. Why did you not?
Raise
It is
then.
never late. Oh,
Yes,
she
I
has
agree.
done the right
I
thing.
agree. You are just
now.
asking
But
this
I'm
question.
just
You are
curious that
yes, I agree.
because that's one of the ways to stop it.
Yes,
Stop the perpetrator.
That
the
you-
moment
you-
you are harassed, don't take it.
Yes.
Don't go home and sleep on it.
Can we?
Tackle it right there.
Will it be safe for us to assume that it is because she doesn't want to comply with the rules of the Senate,
That's
and
why
the
she
Senate
brought-
president is insisting that look,
You
must
must comply.
obey? Is that what triggered her to now say, okay, this thing you did to me, I must?
See, we should also be careful. Apart from the sexual harassment issue, the obedience to the rules of their own house
is important.
It is important to the
Nobody
conduct
must- yes.
of the business.
Yes.
If you don't comply with your own rules, in-house
There will be no
rules,
law and order.
there will be no law and order. And if you are, say, you escape and you are able to
Or
go
you are allowed
scot-free,
to trample on the rules of the house.
yes, with no penalty, with nothing, it means other senators can do it. And if you have gone away with it with no penalty, that means at no point, at no time,
That means the house has no respect for rule of law.
Anybody will be punished for disobeying
Taking
the
that
rules
same route, yes.
of the Senate. So, two things involved: disobedience to the rules of the house, and then the sexual harassment. The sexual harassment, whoever is found guilty, yes, should be punished to face the law. But the disobedience to their own rules, because it is important that they
Yes,
keep to
they
that
set-
rule
they set
in order
standards.
to have sanity in the house,
Absolutely.
to have order in the house. All of them, 109 senators, of course, on an issue, all of them will have opinion.
Of course.
Many of them will want to speak
Their
at the
opinion,
same
their
time.
opinion can even align.
And like one of my former lecturers will say, we are not in a Portuguese parliament where all of them will speak at the same time. It must be first after the other.
Yes.
You will be recognized.
Yes,
you raise your point, another person will take over. However, if you want to make it rowdy, you want to disobey your own rules in-house, it means there will be anarchy in the house.
And
it
must not be tolerated. It does
So
not be tolerated.
the Senate must ensure that that aspect is taken care of.
Absolutely.
Appropriate punishment should be meted out to the person in order to ensure sanity, set a precedent. However, the issue of harassment must be dealt with.
Yes, I agree with you. And Senator Natasha, in as much as we are not speaking for either the Senate President
At
or
all.
Senator Natasha, we
At
want to
all.
make it clear here that she has even gone further to make allegations upon allegations on during media interviews.
Yeah.
I think it is important for the Senate, in looking into our petition, to also take note of those appearances. I think that will serve to add to...
I know everybody has jumped on it now. There has even been...
But the issue of the resignation of the Senate
President
that is a no-go area.
I will not say it
That's
is a
no-go area.
no-go area.
The no-go area.
If you look at our own, the way we do things in Nigeria...
Not even the way we do things.
Eventually, the Senate President...
might be exonerated.
The pressure will be too much for him to handle, and eventually he will resign. I feel because
You mean now?
Eventually,
Richard,
it will lead to it.
it will lead to it.
So it may find himself in a situation whereby he will have to resign.
He will not. The Senate president is. I mean, for me,
look at the.
I will not want him to resign.
Look at.
Those were political. Patricia Ite never had a scandal of sexual.
No, it's not. Her own is not sexual.
It was more about alleged financial misdemeanor.
Yeah, somebody raised the issue.
Yes.
However, she never did what they said she did.
Okay.
She never awarded.
Yes.
She never bought TV.
It was just a ploy to get out of the way.
But because they wanted to get out of the way, eventually they succeeded.
But I'm sure
maybe
if they are trying that same route
we can never say. We don't know
we are together on
how far it has gone. We don't know those
Richard,
who may be supporting.
We are all stakeholders in Nigeria.
So let's see.
We're also adding our voice to the Senate president. Is not going anywhere.
Well,
until the Senate decides this case, and if the senators decide on their own that their Senate president has been found guilty, that is, if there are evidences, then they met out their property. And if it is found that Senator Natasha Akpoti lied.
Nigerians know that. Well, we usually jump to the definitive conclusion.
Well, let's wait and see. Well, as the days go by, we will wait to see further development on this issue.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been our first topic of the day. We want to go on a short break. We'll be right back. Please continue to watch the conversation coming for you from TV360. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are still watching the conversation coming to you from TV360 here in Lagos, Nigeria. My name is Nelson Akujimi, and I still have with me in the studio Richard Adeyinka Emmanuel, CEO, Data Home Research and Communications Limited.
Thank you.
Yes, Richie, over last week, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assented to the 2025 budget of 54.9 trillion naira. And it is expected that that act by Mr. President will kickstart a lot of activities. And
hopefully.
Yes, at least we are seeing, some positive signs. For example, just about last week or upper week, I recollect that MRS Dangote Refinery announced that she was reducing the price of PMS per liter at the pumps. And
to 860. And NNPC has followed suit.
No. NNPC took almost a week or so.
Yes.
And we had these queues at
MRS,
Aiding.
I'm not sure many people were aware that there are other filling stations that are equally selling at 860 with MRS. Like
Adova is selling 865. In some places.
Okay, but all of them, MRS, Adova, Aiding, they were with Dangote selling at 860. So, but you see excessive queue, even in our MRS filling stations. However, if you pass through Aiding, you will see not many people knew that Adova and Aiding were also selling for 860 until Dangote also put that on social media, and then NNPC has followed suit.
Well, those are signs of economic
hopefully
good tidings that we're getting.
However, it has to continue for a period. It's not just 2 days, 3 days.
No, Richard, you and I know the dynamics of the economy, and that what has brought about this is influenced by a number of factors.
Yes.
And we have all agreed that part of the economic re-engineering by the administration is what we are seeing now. Yes, and it is that people can source their products. I'll give you a vivid example. I have a friend who has about 3 petrol stations. And the man told me that in the past, when they pay for products, that it could take you a month, 2 months before your product is supplied. But now, it is if you are not ready to sell product for me,
You
I have
go
an
elsewhere.
alternative. So
Dangote has
the market has opened up a lot of new opportunities for people.
But more still needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Before we have, it looks good if it can remain that way. In fact, Nigerians even expect more, that it will go down.
We demand more because we are Oliver Twist.
Yeah, of course. No, if you look at the impact on the economy, however, for it to have a positive impact on the economy,
Sustaining
on
the
pocket of the average Nigerian, you must have a kind of stability so that people can even plan and say.
One of the ways in which we can have stability is for us to continue to pray that the crisis in the Middle East will
stop or reduce or continue.
The ceasefire will be observed, and the agreement for lasting peace will be worked out. The Russia-Ukraine crisis, even though some of us, I wonder, I've asked myself, even though I am not in tune with how Mr. Zelensky was treated at the Oval House.
No, that's...
but apart from that, I've not seen the president of the Ukrainian leader. I've not seen him show commitment to resolving this issue. The European countries that are saying they want to help you, they should be looking at how do we stop this needless war.
They are not, see, for me,
all of them are saying they want to delay. We are not ready to.
They are not interested. And we have seen how international diplomacy was murdered by Donald Trump. Normally it won't happen in front of the camera that two presidents will be having that high-powered meeting, and you have media, live interventions and all that. He has dramatized it and all that. For me,
maybe that is Trump's style of.
No, that's Trump for you. He's a showman. However, my advice to Zelensky is that it looks like Russia is his bedbed. He's not yet a member of NATO. So, all this they are saying, they are not helping him. They are just they just throw him into the, and because he's a comedian, I'm not sure his level of
reasoning,
knowledge of international diplomacy. Trump wants you to sign your country away, the resources away.
No. Trump is not signing. You are not signing it away.
No, see,
if Trump wanted a deal whereby American businesses will have interest in Ukraine, and because of that, automatically America will be interested in protecting that business interest.
That is it.
Yes.
See,
he's not signing it away. I don't agree.
The deal, that is what Trump wanted, that let us make a deal. Let us make it.
So that we have peace.
Is saying that, of course, it doesn't depend on only him. He has to go back home, have discussion with his people, and then they agree on how to do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Europe that you are fighting for, they constitute the largest bloc. 30 out of the 32 member NATO. 30 of them are in Europe. They do not have that money to prosecute war, to stop the war. And I would have even felt that all these international agreements and all, including NATO itself, that was formed in the 40s, UN and all that, we should begin to look at them right now. Perhaps many of what they exist to do, events have overtaken them. No country is in China is not taking US as a rival or a competitor. China just wants prosperity, just wants to do business. China is not interested in taking over another country. It's not interested in fighting another war. So it's not interested in annexing anything. You, America, you are the one. But even encouraging
yes, our discussion, because we are looking at
the Nigerian economy.
But most importantly, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed the budget, of which we expect that the Minister for Finance will give us a breakdown. Then
yes.
we'll be able to study it, thoroughly. I'm also curious to ask that when Mr. President made some announcement with regards to the budget, we were made to recognize that a large chunk of the budget is going to security.
As usual.
Yes, we'll go into infrastructure. We'll go into agriculture. I think it is also important for us to look at what the subnationals, what they are doing in that regard. Because if the federal government is investing heavily in these areas and the subnationals are not complementing, so it is important for us to look at the budgets of the state governments. What is their, is there a linkage between what the federal government is doing and the state government?
Now you are just coming to the thick of the situation. Now, the time has come, not that the Abuja, you sit in Nassau Rock, you ask your MDAs to submit budget and you put them together and you say, this is what you want to spend. Part of it, don't forget, the last year's budget barely performed to half. The last year's budget.
Last year's budget.
It's not performing great. It's not performing, we are running a deficit. But in a way, in order to have maximum impact, federal government should sit down with subnationals and say, we want to, when you say infrastructure, give it a name. Let's know that infrastructure that you want to.
We are waiting for the Minister of Finance.
So that the infrastructure, do you want to provide, say, train from here to Calabar? It will pass through how many states?
Yeah.
Now, you need land from the state. What are the states affected? What are they doing to complement
that transport?
Yes,
that system of transportation,
so that their own people will
also
benefit from it.
Yeah.
Okay, look at the coastal road. Now it will pass through Ondo and all that
up to Calabar.
Up to Calabar. That's like the edge of the state. State capital is still in Akure, for instance. In the case of Ondo, Ogun is in Abeokuta here, and coastal road will pass through. So, except you agree with all these states to see how they can connect.
But even if the coastal road goes through Ogun State, it is not supposed to be the focus of the state capital. It's supposed to be the focus of the overall development of the state.
The state.
So
that's what I'm saying.
At least as we speak, even if we take coastal road apart, we know we can move from Abeokuta or from Ifo or from Idiroko
to come
to Ijebu.
But to connect it, you need the state government.
Yes, that's what we're saying.
So all of them to make, even in education, same thing.
Absolutely.
Federal government, you are taking care of the universities. The states, they are taking care of secondary school, primary school. How do we? Because most often, if we want to say,
are we looking at the infrastructure? Are we looking at the personnel?
If we want to say the budget that we put into education, for instance, people usually claim
UNESCO standard is 35%.
But we only quote the one made by the federal government.
We don't look at what...
But all the states, they have budget for education. Can we put them together and add to what government, in order to get the actual amount that government is spending on education? It's not only the federal government. Even local government has budget for education. So we should be able to bring those things together in order to have a true picture of the situation. So what this budget, the target, at least we know that government is targeting 15% inflation.
Bringing down inflation rate.
Many people don't think it is possible. I also don't think it is possible. But
I believe it's doable.
But I will be happy if inflation goes down so that they can put more money in my pocket and so on. So government should, in making budget, liaise with the state government so that their programs complement each other. so that the program won't be isolated. You are doing your own in isolated, and so all of them. That is how we can get the benefits.
The benefits.
You know,
of these
purpose-driven
provisions every year. Well, thank you very much, Richard Adeyinka. You have made a beautiful submission, and I cannot add to that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we want to call it a day on to this edition of The Conversation. Till we come your way again next time, we've had a very beautiful conversation. Please continue to watch The Conversation. We are open for sponsorship. It's a program that runs every week. Our channels are out there. Please join us. Watch the programs on TV360, including The Conversation. Till we come your way again next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.
I didn't know on time because I only knew that she found it difficult to read. And even when she started school, although I thought I was part of the reasons why she could not catch up with her mates, because I was actually I move around a lot. So when I move, she has to change school. But I actually found that even when I got good teachers, the normal set of school teachers, I found out that she still finds it difficult. She's actually brilliant, very, very brilliant. But when it comes to book, we call to read.
My name is Mrs. Uchenna Ahanotu, the director of Nene Special Education Center, a psychologist called for a degree in educational psychology from Imo State University. My dream had been always to help students to excel in their academics. So my dream had always been for gifted students. But then I now started coming across children with learning disabilities, and I found out that they were not getting the support they need. So I was helping them in my little way, one-on-one, until it now came to my doorpost. I got reports from the school that my daughter would be repeating class. I was like, why? And they said she's not meeting up. This is a girl that is normally intelligent. You know she knows everything, but they said she couldn't read. So as an educational psychologist, I now had to go back to my books because I had packed my books. I went back to my books to study, and now found out that there is something called dyslexia, and not just dyslexia, there were other neurological disorders. There was autism, there was ADHD, there was all those cerebral palsy. All of them are linked together. So disabilities. I was going from school to help them, but then a week, 2 hours a day is not enough. It wasn't giving us the results we wanted. So we now had to open the center and now told parents if we can enroll him or her here. When she has developed to a certain stage, she can now go back to mainstream school. That was how Learning Center started.
High five. A sound. B sound. C sound.
The thing is, when a child is not performing well in school, and you have tried all you can, you've given the necessary intervention, lesson teacher, good books, and she still performs low, I think it's time to diagnose her. As a psychologist, we diagnose, when a child comes to our center, we diagnose the child first to know the specific area of challenge. And that's why we're able to now diagnose, say this is dyslexia, this is dyscalculia, this is ADHD, this is autism. It can become comorbid with speech delay, whatever it is. So diagnosis is what we do first. When we diagnose, we can now do an education plan for the child. All our children have their own education plan, because a child with dyslexia is not at the same pace with another child with dyslexia. So we do one-on-one therapy, we do one-on-one teaching for them, meeting them at their various points of need, and then they come up. So that's basically the strategy, identifying the specific advantage and then tackling it individually, not as a class. My staff and I, we go for professional training. We go for courses mainly online.
Okay, this is a timer. This is a timer we use for their section. So each section for a child, because of children with autism, most time they are diagnosed with ADHD, that's attention deficit hyperactive disorder. So it's difficult for you to treat them in a normal class and take a long time with them. So we time our sections with them. For each section for a child, we have 15 minutes. So I put on my timer for 15 minutes. So I know that at the end of 15 minutes, the child knows he's done. We see them standing up sometimes because they're like, just want to get up and leave. So it helps us to time them and get the best results.
Challenges. Well, sometimes I want them
to, like, you're teaching the child something, other child can easily pick up, but you have to keep consistently going over it day by day and all, and it's like same as if you're not getting a result. Or when you're trying to keep kids with ADHD, getting them to sit still while you're teaching them, it's kind of can be very, very tasking. And also sometimes it's like that.
She has improved a lot compared to what she was then, because she was having low self-esteem, and then, but here they kind of, brought our confidence up, our confidence level a lot, and happy with my.
Well, it's been quite encouraging. It's been good. It's been a lovely experience. Jaden, my son, couldn't do things not said with the school. He couldn't feed himself. He couldn't identify layers. He couldn't identify that his hearing was perfectly, and he hears very, very well. But he couldn't identify some things. But right now, he can identify, he can make sounds, the rest of them. So I'm impressed.
Before, she won't even try to pronounce, as in, if the word is difficult, she just jumps it to the next word. But now she's trying to, and then she has improved in her reading. She has improved in her self-esteem. I don't know, psychologically she has improved.
We started last year, 2022, with the few students I had. So this year we plan to go more social media and then reach out to schools, primary schools in particular, to inform the headmistresses, the proprietors, that there is a diagnostic center where they can diagnose a child's learning challenge, because most of them are harbored in these schools, but they are confused. They just think maybe the child doesn't want to read. So there's a center where they can diagnose and also help them to tackle the challenge. So our aim is just the proprietors, and then through social media we reach out to parents that are worried about their child's development.
I tell every parent that when you observe that kind of situation with your child, you should seek. Don't just assume, because some secular schools, they don't really look out for these conditions in children. They assume that the child is poor or the child is dull. They don't have provision for that in most schools. So, and then such child will have low self-esteem, and it will look like they cannot do anything, or they look inferior to their peers.
Clap for yourself, clap for yourself.
As I said, so this is just, we have had a total of about 10 kids, and some of them are still on now.
Well, I must say it has been an amazing one. It has really been amazing. I get to meet wonderful kids every day. Yes, I see them and I'm like, these kids are just wonderful, because the world cannot see them in that way, but meeting them every day has been, being able to interact with kids, it has been great.
My advice to parents that they should keep a close eye on their child. Try to find out about their disabilities earlier in life, so that it will reduce the amount of time that we have to teach them.
Early detection matters. If your child is delaying, just come and find out if it's disorder or delay. We will tell you. If it's delay, we'll just tell you to go. With time, he will talk. But if it's disorder, you have to start immediately to intervene to help the child. Please find a center that understands their challenge and that will be able to tackle their challenge with the resources and right from it. It's not an issue. They need all love and care they can get, and they also need the professional touch to get them out of where they are.
arguably most important era monument in Badagry. The point of no return is a huge draw for tourists visiting the town. Most of the slave cancels who were traded during the transatlantic slave trade era were loaded onto ships for sport and taken parts of war. For many tourists, the point of no return has some spiritual connection, and that is why it's a must-see for any tourist visiting Badagry. But the place is in total and look abandoned. Locals say the Lagos government began rebuilding it some 8 years ago, but never completed it. And now it's been abandoned. The whole structure is rotting away and collapsing. Virtually all the structure point how we could abandon a monument as important as this in this manner.
It's quite very embarrassing looking at the way which the government, even though they've been advocating for tourism, on the need for us to invest in tourism, to encourage the citizens to participate and also encourage activities. But the truth of the matter is that most of our tourist sites, they are not really, strategically fine-tuned in a way to make it more attractive for tourists to come and time around. Well, I think this structure, it's more of like a white elephant project because it's it's a waste. Because you can see now it's dilapidated, and I don't think they are going to continue with the construction of this structure. And this structure, I believe before the commencement of this structure, they should have come up with plans to see how it's going to benefit and enhance and boost tourism within this community. But maybe they did not do their groundwork very well, so they had to stop it long gone. It really breaks my heart because this is millions of naira wasted that possibly be put in another aspect of the tourism. But this is just like millions wasted, and there's no way they can retrieve this lost funds. And people coming down here catch fund, and they tend to feel discouraged and embarrassed by the sight of these, most especially foreign nationals coming there to come and relax, or maybe to come for their research purposes. They're going to see Nigeria as a country that we are not serious.
Yet wave point of no return, another abandoned project by the Lagos state government. Locals say this was supposed to be a guest chalet started during the Babatunde Fashola, but long abandoned. Paved road of no return is not completed. Most part yet to be paved. In its terrible state, to flock to the point of no return, often least.
When I was in secondary school, we came for an excursion here. We went to was 4-story building, and then we were young then. But now, at least that's 2014 and it's 2024. Let me say that ago. So coming now, and I was like, okay, land of return, and let me say it looks like. From getting to this place, there is no evidence that there is nothing to show that okay, this is an evidence to show that this is a land of no return. And even this building, I'm just guessing that maybe that is where the colonial master stays then, where they select the slaves and all those things. But I don't know, because there is no one to tell, and it's the point to let it go and claim it as anything.
If this monument continues to rot away like it is at the moment, then it's only a matter of time before the point of no return completely disappears from this very sport.
If the sense of government is the security and welfare of the people, then as long as there's plenty, poverty is evil. Affluent poverty. That's what we live in, affluent poverty. The news recently brought a British international primary school, charter house located somewhere in Lekki, Lagos, was charging as much as 42 million per annum as school fees for its pupil in a poor country like ours. However, the school management issued a statement clarifying the claim that the school fees are currently 26 million naira per annum and not 42 million. Oh boy, now wow. 26 million as school fees per annum for Pekin when they primary school in a poor country like Nigeria, where many states can't even pay 30 naira as minimum wage. Payment rate is frightening as fraud is now celebrated as a profession. 26 million. Well, I know some of you will go to defend them now. They say if education is expensive, try ignorance. And others will say, well, it's the school is attended by expatriate, kids of expatriate. Even at that, maybe for Nigeria that they make money, whether they pay the in Nigeria, nation's lifestyle, the government. So if you pay 26 million naira school, that means you go pay 62 million naira for that kid in secondary school, and maybe 112 million enter university. And then the child will that there won't be jobs, and then you send the child abroad. Is that not overhead? Go to countries like Poland, Germany, Czech Republic. Charles University and the University of Warsaw are some of the cheapest universities with top-tier programs are offered at an affordable rate. Although universities in all the Nordic countries are relatively affordable, but public universities in Norway remain free for everybody from both within and outside the EU, with the exception of a few specialized programs. But in Nigeria, go to Edo University in Iyamo. It is ranked as the most expensive state-owned university in Nigeria. Yet, the other state university, Edo State University in Ekpoma, under the previous administration of Godwin Obaseki, suffered from the poor. Now, wow. How many people still remember, the craze those days about British International School? But with the current school fees of 4.6 million and 6.8 British International School. But with the current school fees of 4.6 million and 6.8 million, especially in law, no country. And even some churches, when collected an offering from members to build schools, most of these members that contributed the tithe and offering cannot afford to send their children to these schools. So what do you expect? Even recently, remember Wigwe University in Isiokpo in Rivers State was in the news, not for the death of its founder, but as the most expensive university in Nigeria, with school fees ranging from 12 million naira. And some of these fees are priced in dollars. And our government is pretending to be looking for solution to our dollar problem, while they turn a blind eye to this open segregation in a country where our collective welfare is supposed to be their responsibility. Oh boy, to your tent, oh Israel. You won't blame them though. Don't you see how we openly spray monies in parties as if money is going out of factory? Exotic and expensive cars. The cars will neither produce nor assemble here. Yet, with retinue of aides and barrage of mobile police, where the future generations are either emerged in prostitution. Sorry, who called the area, with some area never get road, apart from the fact that there's so much money to waste, are so expensive and priced in dollars in places like Sokoros in Abuja, and Banana Island, and in some places in Lagos, in a poor country like Nigeria, than properties in Miami waterfront in rich America. So no matter how much we all condemn or criticize these things, it will, because the reality is that most Nigerians want to be like these people who are physically and mentally poor, as we only criticize them when we are poor. But the moment we become rich or hold public office, we will create segregation, poor and the rich. We move over to expensive slums like Lekki, our children occupy government positions and steal public funds, ride expensive cars without identifiable stability of livelihood. And that's just our life. So it no go stop. So if I lie, anyway, check those occupying public offices today. Between 15 and 12 years ago, they were mostly critics of the attitude of government then. But today, people in government are repeating exactly what they decide, even if not even worse. So I will therefore advocate till we see government as a vehicle for public good, social justice, creating job opportunities, infrastructural development, equality, and accountability. People will continue to chase wealth, material possession, and position as a way of not living at all. Government must take job creation and compensate hard work and create regulation in every sector to avoid a society of wealth without work. The attitude government officials are of displaying affluence in the meetings, but it pushes people to act without. Our attention should help improve our mindset to the fact that voluntary and selfless service helps write our name in gold in the sand of time. That even when we die, our name will be so engraved in the heart of the world that time will never erase it. Well, I don't want to talk too much person here. To enable you make your own contribution in all our social media platforms shown on your screen. Also help us to share the message so that we can contact. For no matter how expensive education is, without commensurate effort to promote and create jobs,